mulch or growing plants. And the sun is the enemy of soil food web. Old growth forests, prairies, deserts, they all have their complex of literally millions of kinds of microorganisms. It isn't that important to know the name of every microorganism. It's more important to know the functions of these various organisms, and there's what is referred to as the trophic levels. There's a group of bacteria that live right at the root hair, and they cover the root hair and protect it from diseases. Its protection is there because this plant is pumping energy in the form of carbohydrates from the photosynthesis into the roots. 40% of that energy goes into the root hairs and feeds this group of bacteria. Well, this would go to a climax if it weren't for the second trophic level of organisms that feeds on those bacteria. And so there's an open-ended flow-through system here. And every time that the second and third and up to 14 trophic levels of organisms, as they feed on the next one below it, they usually have extra nitrogen that they spit out. And that extra nitrogen is immediately put. Now this takes place with the complex of bacteria, with the complex of fungi. This is well documented. There are mycorrhizae fungi and trichoderm. There's a number of these things that are for sale now, and they can be inoculated and successfully, and add to what nature is supplying you. And the benefits of this is that the soil will loosen up, and all of a sudden your flea beetles and all these other things that are around the roots and stuff. If the soil is loose, see, this soil is not bad, but it's not good either. If it were really good, I could stick this shovel in there without any effort at all. But I'm having trouble getting it in here. And of course, that's because nothing's growing on it, and it's not covered, and it gets baked. And you never have perfect soil, but you can approach it. And you do it with cover crops and mulches, and of course compost. I think is a good way to do it, but it's an expensive way unless you can do it yourself, unless you can utilize your own waste products to provide for it. It's a bulky material to deal with. It's not as it's 10 to 1, I think, of volume in undigested mulch versus digested mulch. Well, just throwing the material on top is kind of copies what the forest does. The forest drops its leaves every year, the trees die, this all becomes part of the mulch that eventually becomes part of the food web. And it's a very complicated system, but it works. And you measure it in the quality, the flavor, and the no pesticides on your food and fiber. And it's important in fiber too. So we have we need to really look at the costs, the outside costs of these pesticides, because they're creating all kinds of havoc with our immune system. We've identified some 35 or 40 common chemicals that interrupt growth processes in fetuses, and this was all known when Rachel Carson was talking. Unfortunately, Rachel Carson didn't pick up on it. There's a paper that was suggesting that DDT was not only a carcinogen, but it was also an immune disruptor. And it's only just in the last 5 or so years that we've become aware of this, because when we start to clean up some of these environments, we find that even though the animals are coming back, there's still gross distortions in their biology, and it's true in the alligators, it's true in the polar bears, it's true in humans. It may be the learning disabilities of children can be. We need to document that. We need the science. We need to look at that. And in the meantime, it's sort of like the climate change. There's only one experiment here. We got one species of human, and if we don't become aware of the common sense that tells you that poisons are bad for people, particularly in the food supply, and that amounts of parts per trillion is enough to cause this. You see, there's no safe level. There is no safe level, and of course there's an industry that doesn't want to believe that, and unfortunately we're the victims. And the organic agriculture movement, and the clean food movement, and ecologically based pest management movement, which is written up and sponsored by the National Academy of Sciences. There's books on this, what we need to do, telling us what we need to do. And our agriculture doesn't want to respond to this for some reason. And so we're out to try to talk about it, create a dialogue.